What's up, patrons? Ben and Chad here once again as the CME's Patreon Power Hour rolls on for September 27th, 2024. Ben, our first opportunity of the week to look at the UFC Fight Night event from Paris, France, coming up on Saturday. So we're going to get into talking about that this week. We'll also have some bets, I believe. Did you place bets this week?
Oh, I placed bets.
Okay.
Better believe I placed bets.
I also placed some bets, and then we'll have power rankings coming in on the second half of the show. I went over there to Portland and I watched Green Day play a rock and roll show. And I got to be honest, it was pretty much the perfect old man experience.
Now, you say you watched Green Day play.
Yeah.
From what I saw on the social medias, you also watched Rancid play, which would have
Well,
been maybe the headline I would have gone with.
Anybody who knows me knows that I went over there to watch Rancid play. But I also wanted to see Green Day. You know, I'm from the 90s. I'm familiar with their work. I like them. I saw them play at the Union Hall in 1991 here in Missoula, Montana for $3. So it's interesting to go watch them play at a giant stadium when they have fucking fire shooting out from behind them and fucking pyrotechnics and a confetti cannon and like a blimp flying around the stadium. That's interesting to go see that. Here's the thing though. This concert kicked off at 4:30 in the afternoon. Okay. So I got to hang around at the soccer stadium in Portland, Providence Park, for 7 hours, and I still got home before midnight, my guy. So
this is really telling something about you, about what you value. You know,
I just told you it was the perfect old man experience.
I couldn't tell at first if you're talking about you being the old man or them being the old man.
Everyone was there. Everyone who was there was old except the Lindas who are teenagers.
It seems like, okay, we're all going to show up. I couldn't remember if this is your social media or somebody else's, like post some pictures of this thing and post some pictures, especially of the guys from Rancid. And I was like, all right, those dudes they put some miles on the tires.
They're looking haggard, those guys.
Whereas
I had to go see them before they died. That's what I said. I got to go see these guys. All the guys in Rancid are like 60. And we should say not all of them. Tim and Lars are looking haggard. Yeah. Matt Freeman is looking like he's going to play the show, get to bed early, get up in the morning and go to a car show. That's what that guy's doing. Maybe take in an afternoon ball game.
The fucking Green Day guy looks exactly the same.
Exactly the fucking same. Like he was frozen in fucking carbonite this whole time with Han Solo.
His hair, he's even doing the same shit with his hair. Or maybe, did he feel like, maybe he got out of practice of it and he was like, well, we're doing the tour. They're going to expect me to have at least some green in my hair.
Maybe. I don't know. That Billy Joe Armstrong, he's matured into a real stadium band leading man, front man type situation. There's an undeniable star quality going on there. He's really good at leading the band. I'll tell you who looks weird. Unfortunately, I hate to say it. Trey Cool, the drummer from Green Day. He's the youngest one out of any of them. And he's, something has gone on there. Like maybe he had some work done. I'm not sure. Just looking odd, I have to say.
Did it turn out that you did, in fact, have the time to listen to him whine?
We had so much time, dude. They played for like 2.5 hours.
How does Green Day play for 2.5 hours?
See, that's what you wonder. And then they start playing and you're like, oh yeah, I've heard every single one of these songs on the radio at some point. It was the, I believe, 20th anniversary of Dookie or 30th anniversary maybe. And then
it's gotta be 30th because that came out when we were in high school, right?
It was the 30th anniversary of Dookie and maybe the 20th anniversary of American Idiot. So they played all the way through both of those albums. And then they played some songs in between. And then they played some songs after. So they went on. I didn't even see the end. We left while they were still going. We left while they were doing their encore, time of your life.
Whoa, you left during that, huh?
Yeah. Well,
walked out of like the classic high school commencement, like the kid who could play the best acoustic guitar in your high school graduating class would play that one as everybody's walking out. Okay. The American Idiot thing reminds me. Do you remember when like Johnny Damon of the Boston Red Sox came out with that quote about American Idiot, where it seemed like he had completely misunderstood the what Green Day was going for. But he was like, "Yeah, man, I feel like this team, we're a whole bunch of American idiots. It's great." And he was like, "No, man, that's not. I don't know, man. I think
Oh,
you guys have different ideas about what's happening here."
I do remember when that Red Sox team was called like the Idiots. I do
Yeah,
remember that.
they
I
like
didn't know that
dropped
that was a Johnny Damon reference to Green Day.
it was Johnny Damon referencing Green Day and being like, "Yeah, American idiots, man. Like it's perfect." And it's like, I don't know. It was like during the height of the Iraq War and stuff. Like I don't know if that's really what they if they were like this. We're thinking about the fucking dumbass Boston Red Sox right now. I
Do
don't
you
know.
think
Maybe they were.
you think
Maybe they
maybe
were.
Johnny Damon wasn't listening that close to the lyrics?
I think like kind of similarly how I must think at least once a month about Paul Ryan talking about having Rage Against the Machine on his iPod for his like workout playlists. And I'm just like, how the fuck were you out here jacking weight in the gym, blaring Rage Against the Machine directly into your ear holes, and it never soaked through what the fuck they were talking? Because it's like you go back and you listen to some of those Rage Against the Machine songs, like they're not subtle.
No, that was kind of their whole thing. That's
Yeah.
kind of their whole fucking thing.
And it's like when they will tell you that some of those who work forces are the same who burn crosses, they're not just going to say it once. They're going to say it 25 fucking times throughout the
Yeah.
entire song. And Paul Ryan's like, hell yeah, this rocks. Never gets it. No, not how does that happen?
I'll tell you what, the guys in Green Day and the guys in Rancid are mad about, and that is the Oakland A's moving to Las Vegas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one teased them right up, doesn't it?
They are hot about that. Apparently at the show that was right before this one, or 2 shows before this one in San Francisco, close to their home, because those guys are all from the Oakland
Oh,
area.
yeah. They're Bay Area guys way back.
Apparently, Billy Joe Armstrong went on an obscenity-laced tirade against the owner of the Oakland A's at that show. And then at the Portland show, he stopped to comment that he wished the A's were moving to Portland instead of Las Vegas. So it's on their minds. It's
This
on
guy
their
knows how
minds
to
over
work a
there.
room right there. What's up? I heard Portland knows how to rock. Too bad
Oh,
the Oakland A's aren't coming here.
they came out, Rancid came out, and Lars Fredrickson was like, "What's up, Portland?" And then everybody cheered, and he was like, "Oh, too bad Seattle was much louder yesterday."
Oh, okay.
I was just
Okay.
like, "Okay, I'll see what we're doing.
He's
I
done
see what
this
we're doing here."
before. I mean, Portland is the San Francisco of the Pacific Northwest. There, I said it.
Yeah, it's the San Francisco of everything, like 500 miles north of San Francisco.
It's the Bay Area
Yeah.
of that particular area.
The Smashing Pumpkins played, and boy, did they stink the joint up. They were terrible,
Whoa.
as you might expect. They're just bad. They played for so long and so loud, and then Billy Corgan brought some wrestlers out at the end for a very incongruous, like very short wrestling spot that didn't really go over with didn't even go over with me. And if there's one guy in the crowd that should go over with, it's me.
Yeah.
So that was a bummer that those guys had to play. But other than that, good
Who
time.
wasn't on this show? For crying out loud.
Neil Diamond. Neil Diamond
Okay.
didn't play. You know what was awesome though? The Linda Lindas played. They're teenagers. And then they played first. So they played for like 20 minutes before anybody was really there. And then as soon as Rancid was going to play next, the bass player for the Linda Lindas popped up in the crowd and was like in the pit. And she stayed there all fucking night, having, to quote Green Day, the time of her life.
Okay.
She was just going crazy. She partied the hardest out of anybody in that entire stadium after she had already done a show. It was like you couldn't get away from her. Every time I'd turn around, I'd be like, "Oh, there's the bass player from the Linda Lindas standing right by me."
Well,
Singing, dancing, moshing her ass off. Her
Yeah,
mom was there keeping an eye on her.
you can't fake that, really.
No,
Like that's
it was
the youthful exuberance.
it was an enthusiasm the likes of which perhaps you and I have never felt over anything in our lives.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Anyway, we're going over to Paris, France this weekend, have a little UFC event. Not a bad card, honestly, if you look at it from a fight night standard. If you're going to be around on Saturday and you're looking to watch a fight night card. This is a fight night card you could definitely watch. Uh, but you know what? I feel like the theme of this fight night card might be, oh yeah, that guy, because you got a main event and a co-main event here. Hanato Moicano and Benoit Saint Denis in the lightweight main event, and then Nassourdine Imavov and Brendan Allen in the middleweight co-main event. At least one of these guys in Nassourdine Imavov is the guy that you and I generally point out at a guy that you need help remembering, right? We're like, oh, here,
Yes. It
this is, you got to do something for people to remember Nassourdine Imavov, and now he's going to fight Brendan Allen, who I feel like
yeah,
is kind of another guy where you're like, well, he's won a ton of fights in a row, but also when I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy.
this one does have kind of a lot of those people because I was also just being like, all right, yeah, I'm looking around at the fight card, like Ion Kudalaba. Oh yeah, remember him? He'll come up like a lot of intensity at the weigh-in, stuff like that.
He
You
dresses
know,
like the Hulk sometimes.
he's been known to paint the body. You got a few of those kind of guys on this, and yet also I was watching the stuff from the weigh-ins, and you at least the not the real weigh-ins, the for show weigh-ins in front of a crowd. And that's when I got a little taste of the energy, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get the thing out of this event where the UFC goes to a market that it doesn't go to a whole lot, that is still a fairly fresh market for it, and they're gonna be super excited just about any UFC fights. Having a couple local guys on there always gonna help, but after so much, you gotta get used to this rhythm of like, all right, it's a pay per view, and then a couple weeks back at the Apex doing boring Apex shit on a Saturday. You could watch it, you could not, you can catch up with it later. It's no big deal. And then when you have a fight night where you're like, oh shit, this one is in front of a live crowd and in front of a live crowd that's going to be jacked to see
Yeah.
it, that creates such a different energy that you really once you get used to the opposite of that, you're like, oh shit, yeah, all right, this does make anything feel a little bit like a bigger deal.
I agree. And then these are good fights, honestly, for the co-main and the main event at least, and even further down the card, there's a bunch of people we've heard of. Uh, but again, like I said, you got a guy like Benoit Saint Denis, right, who was really on a steep upward trajectory for a while earlier this year, late last year, prior to his meeting with Dustin Poirier at UFC 299, where he was brutalized and summarily knocked out by Dustin Poirier. The fight, I believe, where Dustin Poirier then approached the cage to ask Dana White if he was sure that he wanted him out in here fighting these young guys, right?
Hmm.
Uh, remember that this was the time when guys, it seemed like there was a stretch of situations where people fought with obvious staph infections. Remember this? I felt like there's
Yeah,
two
that
or
stretch
three.
has been going back to like 2012.
Well, one of those people was Benoit Saint Denis,
Yeah.
right? He was out there fighting with a staph infection. In the wake of that fight, maybe there's been some insinuations, perhaps, that the staff had him not feeling his best headed into that fight with Dustin Poirier. So here we go. Benoit Saint Denis, Hanato Moicano. I feel like this is honestly a pretty big fight for Benoit Saint Denis because if he is going to stay or regain, I guess, any of that momentum, he's got to beat Moicano, obviously. And Moicano, he's one of these guys that you think about again, like, oh yeah, that guy. I mean, we all know who Money Moicano is,
Yeah. He's
right?
gonna make sure you know who he is. I appreciate
But
that about him.
but at the same time, I don't know about you, but when I think about Moicano, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, he's getting up there in years. He's probably one of these guys that used to be really good, and then you forget and you look at his record, and he's like 1-4. No, Hanato Moicano 5-1 in his last 6 fights.
Yeah.
With his loss over Rafael Dos Anjos back at UFC 272, he's beat Brad Riddell, Drew Dober, sorry Ben, and Jalen Turner right in a row headed into this fight. So you look at the odds of this thing. I don't have them in front of me, but when I looked earlier today, it seemed like Benoit Saint Denis was almost a 3-1 favorite. And
The
I don't know that I put money on Hanato Moicano. I guess we'll find out later. But at the same time, I don't think I wouldn't say that he's like a 2-1, 3-1 underdog in this fight.
Yeah. First of all, you mentioned this. I'm gonna read this quote to you from Benoit Saint Denis, and this is from the Mike Heck story on MMA fighting. Quote, "It was disrespectful to go out there against a guy of this level," meaning Dustin Poirier, "being in such a bad condition. But it was also disrespectful to call the fight off during fight week for a fight the guy has been preparing hard for. It was a
Oh,
dilemma for me.
okay. So he did it for DP.
It was a dilemma for me, and it had been bringing a lot of stress during the fight week to not know what to do. It was a hard situation. I cannot have regrets because it's a lesson." So, we are kind of doing a thing of like, I'm not making excuses, but I did a solid for Dustin Poirier by going
Oh
out
yeah.
there with
I
like,
bet Dustin Poirier is sitting at home right now being like, whoo, thank you, Benoit Saint Denis. Wow. I could not have done it without you, buddy.
"Thanks for bringing that staph infection right into my face." Well, I mean, hey, Dustin Poirier wins that fight and then gets the title shot off of it. So like it does work out pretty well for Dustin Poirier. He can't really have any complaints with how it went. And I get it if you're dealing with it and you're like you definitely can't say anything beforehand. Nobody really wants to hear the shit afterwards. Then you're making excuses. So it does put you in a tough spot. This though seems like a tough kind of a fight because you were on a rocket ship to the top
Yeah.
as an exciting young
Steep
fighter that
upward trajectory.
everybody is really hot on. You fight a experienced veteran in Dustin Poirier and a guy where you win this one and you are right there in the conversation for the next title shot. Like it get real serious for you. You go out there, you look good at first, and then you lose. And then, you take a little time after that, you lick your wounds, everything. And then they're like, okay, but how about this? We're still excited about you. And we know we can get the nation of France excited about you. How about we come on back there to Paris and you main event, a packed house in Paris on a UFC fight night thing, and they give you a guy who's like a deceptively tough out. And this is one where it's like you kind of got to win that to maintain that momentum and everything. But also, like, if you do go out there and beat Renato Moicano, you kind of just maintain your guy status, your current guy status. So people are like, all right, yeah, Ben Saint Denis, he had a rough one against Dustin Poirier, but Poirier is super good. He had staff, whatever. Like he's back in it. If you lose though, and it's tough when you come off that loss. You might be suffering a little bit of a crisis of confidence. That could happen too. And then you got to go in there. You're carrying the show here in the main event, fighting Money Moicano. You could lose that one. That we've seen guys in that situation where they're riding high, they lose one, and then next thing you know, they kind of can't stop losing.
Yeah.
Like this is a tricky one. This is a lot of pressure on him in a lot of different ways. And Money Moicano is not a guy that you can take for granted you're going to get that W over.
I feel like even if you beat him, it's a good possibility you're going to be in for a fight. I
Yeah.
feel like you're going to get in a fight with Renato Moicano if you go out there and get in the cage with him. You know what I mean? You're just asking for a fight.
Yeah.
If you get in the cage
You
with
are
him,
literally asking for a fight. That is true.
would you say you're looking for a fight?
You might even say that. Might say that, yeah.
Tour in the country with Matt Serra, eating the best food, going to the best fights. I don't know. I can't remember what the tagline of that show was, but it was amazing.
Just throwing down them chicken parms.
Uh I know. I think we have an item about him. We do. We have an item about him in the power rankings, but I guess I can't avoid the topic till we get there. If I was Brendan Allen, I would tell these voters in the UFC rankings to go fuck themselves also. Right?
Who's left voting in the thing? Have we
I
looked?
mean, no one anybody knows. That's why Brendan Allen doesn't even know who to tell to go fuck themselves. He's like, if I ever see any of those people and know who they are, I'll tell them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him for that. And honestly, it seems like a little bit of kind of low-hanging fruit that you can always complain about the rankings in some way. And you can always get a hefty portion of MMA fans on your side if you're like, who the fuck is coming up with these rankings? That's what the rankings are there for, is to argue about them. So you want to come out here guns blazing at the rankings committee? People like even people who are on the rankings committee will be like, yeah, let's get those guys. Like nobody
The
nobody
hot
really
dog guy in
standing
a
up
hot
for
dog
it.
costume.
Yeah.
Let's find the people who did this. Brendan Allen has won 13 of his 15 UFC fights going back to 2019. That is not too shabby. This weekend, he goes up against, as we said, Nassourdine Imavov. Imavov, I believe, is the considerable favorite here. right? Or at least, it ain't like Moicano Saint Denis odds out here, but I believe he's the stated favorite.
I'm gonna take a look right now. Yeah, he is a minus 205 favorite in
Okay.
this fight.
So, significant edge over Brendan Allen. If I was Brendan Allen, I might seek out those odds makers and tell them to go fuck themselves. Also, while I'm on my go fuck yourself tour.
We'll see. I mean, the odds makers, at least they're putting their balls on the table there. They stand to lose some money if you end up being a lot better than they thought. So the rankings committee get people. They just sending emails, man. They don't have anything at stake here.
All right. You got anything else you want to say about this fight night?
The steamroller's back, but I might end up talking about that here in a moment.
Okay. Let's do $20 we never want to see again. You know what? You love it. You can't live without it. For entertainment purposes only. Let's see what we got. How'd you do last week or the last time we did this? Because it's been a couple weeks.
Didn't do great. Didn't do great.
Okay.
Didn't win a single bet.
You lost them all again?
Didn't win a single bet.
I think we need to have an intervention. I know that we do this
fuck
as a segment on our podcast, but I feel like we'd actually need to have an intervention. Like maybe you need to stop doing this before you ruin your life.
Just wait you see when I win them all this week. I got some stuff this week that could just, brother, erase all the problems.
Well, no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to hearing what it is. Here, let me hold on. I gotta add up what I did last week. Oh, I won them all. I won all of my bets. 4 for 4. I had Montana and Morehead State to go over 51 points. The Grizz did that all by themselves. So I won that bet. That paid out $9.35. I had Valentina Shevchenko to defeat Alexa Grasso. Plus 110, $5 bet, paid out $10.50. I had the Fallout Boy, Diego Lopez, go out here, beat Brian Ortega. That was a $5 bet that paid out $7.60. And I had your boy Marab to win the title from Sean O'Malley, a $5 bet that paid out $10.25. That left me at $37.70 for the week, which is a profit of $17.70. I started the week at negative $65, and 4 cents. I entered this week at negative $47.34.
Cool. All right, let's get to the bets this week.
This week I have 5 bets.
This week I have, man, it gets these people, their long ass names make it tough to tell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
A real role reversal for us the last few weeks here.
Yeah, how about that?
All right, why don't you tell me one of your bets and then we'll start trading off.
You know what? I just talked about him. The steamroller, Matt Frivola, back in action. You remember when he and the boy Benoit Saint Denis had themselves a memorable one.
Yeah.
A lot of good scrambles in that one. Is that Madison Square Garden one? He has not fought since then. He lost a head kick KO. They had themselves a real good back and forth there for there's a lot of living packed into like 90 seconds in that fight. He has not fought since November 2023 of that fight. He is back in action. This one on the undercard of Benoit Saint Denis card. And this time he is fighting Faraz Zayam, another Frenchman. You know he's good. You know a Long Island boy like Matt Frivola, the steamroller, is going to want to get that revenge. The smile killer. Faraz Zayam, that's who he's fighting. So you could just give me Matt Frivola straight up, and you can go ahead and you can throw in Brendan Allen.
Okay.
Just $4.54, $5 to make $27.72.
All right, that's not a bad bet. I went over to the PFL for a combo. I went ahead and took Connor Hughes, who I assume has the striking ability of Conor McGregor and the wrestling of Matt Hughes.
Why wouldn't you assume that?
I parlayed him up with Stevie Ray because you know I'm a big Harlem Heat guy.
Everybody knows that.
$2.50 plus 113 pays out $5.32.
Okay. Um, you can give me Money Moicano straight up. I'm gonna take
Okay.
those underdog odds plus 235. $5 makes me 16.75.
Not a bad bet. We just spent the last several minutes talking about how he is a live dog. Okay. I call this my whoopsies combo.
Okay, that's promising.
I took Brian Battle to go out there and beat Kevin Jousset or Jousset. It's in France, so you can never tell with these guys in their fight. And then I took Aylin Perez to defeat Daria Zelenisnikova. Nailed it. Put that bet in and then clicked over to the MMA fighting to see a headline that says, "Watch Aylin Perez visibly tremble after failing to make weight for UFC Paris."
Yeah, that was. Did you in fact watch it?
No, I saw the headline and I said, "Whoopsies," and then I moved on.
When you watch it, it is kind of uh, fascinating and like troubling, but also you're watching this whole thing unfold and you're like, okay, she seems to be doing okay. Wait, now she's flexing and her arms are very visibly trembling, but she doesn't look like her body and face doesn't look like super sucked down or anything. And you think like, okay, maybe it's just a moment that looked bad. And then she gets off the scale and starts to walk off the stage and almost is like going into convulsions. Like her whole body then starts like experiencing this like full body tremor kind of thing. And you're like, well, that ain't great.
Yeah. Whoopsies.
Whoops. My turn now.
Yes.
I'm going with the alphabetical system again. I'm back.
Oh no. No, 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 no.
Chad, all I gotta hit is one. This time, the alphabetical system has plus 636,452 odds. $1 makes me $6,365.52. And my troubles are fucking over.
Ben, come in here. Have a seat. We need to talk.
I'm not willing to accept this help that you are offering me here today.
It hurt my feelings. I thought we were doing better. We had gotten off the systems for a while. I thought you were on the right track. You know, you got yourself the job at Taco Bell. I thought, he's on the right track. And then here we are now, just like we always are, back to the systems.
Chad, I'm running out of time. It's late September.
Desperate measures here as we get into fall. All right. I have Nasruddin Imavov and Benoit Saint Denis. So I believe I'm at odds with both of your main event and co-main event bets. It's a $5 bet plus 100 will pay out $10 on the nose.
Okay. My back and forth across the card system.
Oh, God.
That gives me Saint Denis, Imavov, Brito, Jusset, Miranda, Zayam, Ursulan, Roberts, Lapalus, Zelezanikova, nailed it, Perez, Cavalcante, Oki, plus 1,771,327. $1 makes me $17,000, $714.27.
I don't even know what to say anymore. I
Don't
just,
say fucking anything then.
it's not what I want to see happen to you, man. It's not what I
You
want to
don't
see
want to
happen.
see me win $17,000? I know that's true.
Well, my last two bets, Ben, are both some of Chad's big time college football bets.
Hmm.
I hate to do this. I hate it. I hate to do it. I hate to do it. But the Montana State Bobcats are going down to Pocatello this weekend to play the Idaho State Bengals. They are minus 17 points, and they will cover that. The Montana State Bobcats will beat the Idaho State Bengals by more than 17 points. So you can give me the Kitties, minus 17, $5 bet, minus 120, pays out $9.17.
Idaho State is the one that plays in it's like a weird little dome, right?
I
And
believe it's the Kibby Dome.
on TV, it feels like a joke. It feels like they're at like an indoor soccer arena or something, like a youth indoor soccer facility. Feels like as soon as the football game is done, they're gonna wheel a bouncy castle out there.
Oh, my bad. The Kibbie Dome is actually in Moscow, where Idaho plays.
Okay.
Let me do a little fact check here. The
Well,
ICCU Dome
bullshit.
is
It's a
is
bullshit
where
dome. Um, I've also got some football
Holt
action.
Arena used to be called Holt Arena. That's what I was thinking of.
I've got both kinds of football action to finish up here.
Good and bad, big
Give me
time and small time.
Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool in my I know those English Premier League teams parlay plus 145 on a 3-match parlay because I've heard of all these teams. They must be good. $5 to make 12.25.
Okay. All right. My last bet, Grizz getting on the bus, driving over there to Cheney, Washington to play on the Inferno, the red turf over at Eastern Washington University against the hated and loathsome Eagles of Eastern Washington University. Over under 58.5 points. That is a lot of points, but we're going over.
Okay.
Going over 58.5. The only thing Eastern Washington can do is score points. So Montana's going to have to keep up with them. I think Montana wins this game, but I think it'll be like 42-35,
Expecting a shootout.
42-24, something like that. And it's all going to come down to this. Well, let me tell you two things. Give me pause here. Number one, the Grizz have never won on the red turf.
What?
They have
Never?
never won at Cheney since the installation of the Inferno in like 2012 or whenever it
Okay.
was. Never won on the red turf. So there's that. The other thing that gives me pause is persistent rumors going around town this week that K. Ali'i Yacht, aka 8 Ball, may be in the concussion protocol. If that's the case, you'll have your boy Logan Fife, junior transfer quarterback from Fresno State, go out there and run the offense. Either way, Montana may decide to try to control the ball and run this thing down Eastern's throat. But if you got Logan Fife out there, I will feel less confident in my over bet. If you got 8 Ball, then I think we're going to at least slang it around a little bit. You might have more touchdowns. We'll see. We'll see. I'm taking the over 58.5. $5 bet pays out 935.
Are we thinking that it was that one play where he tucked it, ran for the touchdown, took a shot down there in the corner, and was down for a while? Is that the moment where we're thinking he got a concussion?
Well, it's a weird situation, right? Because he went out there, he scored that touchdown where he
Yeah.
dove in, and it seemed like he got hurt because he was down on the turf for a while. But then he came back in and he scored another touchdown after that. And then they took him out and brought Logan Fife in to finish up the game. So it's a tricky and unknown situation. I also understand that he hung out after the game for like an hour to sign autographs and talk to people, which doesn't necessarily sound like what you would do with your freshman quarterback if you had to put him in the concussion protocol. But maybe the symptoms didn't pop up till later. Who knows? It's a
Right.
concussion. It's weird.
Maybe he was feeling okay signing autographs, and then he woke up Sunday morning and was like, "All right, game day, boys, let's go. I'm excited about this one. I think we got a good chance to beat those catamounts." And everybody was like, "Uh-oh."
So we'll see. We won't know. Listed on the 2 deep this week as Logan Fife or Kaylee Yayat. So we won't know till they show up down there in Cheney. 5:00 kick on the ESPN Plus for those of you who want to follow along. Although you might want to get some special glasses because you will get a headache if you try to watch this game on the red turf over there at Eastern Washington. It ought to be illegal.
Hate that turf.
They should put someone in jail for making that turf.
My last one, the other kind of football. Got money line bets up and down here. Give me the Vikings over the Green Bay Packers, the undefeated Minnesota Vikings. I don't know how much longer you'll be able to say that, but it's already kind of weird.
Probably
Then
not
give me the
after this week.
undefeated Buffalo Bills to beat the Baltimore Ravens, and give me the Lions at home on Monday night over the Seattle Seahawks. plus 645. $3 makes me 22.37.
As we all know, everyone stays undefeated in the NFL.
All I need is one more week, guys.
That's the thing that happens. All right, let's bring the music in. Co-main event podcast, Patreon, Power Hour, Power Rankings. We're counting them down from 10 to 1. Number 10 this week, Ben. In one of the most hotly anticipated rematches of the year, the UFC has submitted another settlement offer, to at least some of the plaintiff fighters in its antitrust class action lawsuit. And it's really hoping this one sticks. So we're going with $375 million now, and only for the fighters in the Kung Lee lawsuit, which leaves the Cajun Johnson lawsuit outstanding. You will recall when Judge Boulware rejected the initial settlement, Ben, one of the things he said was he didn't think you could settle both lawsuits with one payout because the two lawsuits have different contentions in terms of their class action status and the actions that they're asking for. So we took that one off. We took Cajun Johnson out of the equation. We settled merely with the Kung Lee folks. We gave them a little bit more money, and we're hoping that this one goes down smoothly with the judge. And then, at least according to the UFC, they'll let the Cajun Johnson one play out maybe a little bit longer before they get into any talks on that side.
So initially, right, it was both lawsuits settled for a total of $335 million.
I believe that's
Now
correct.
we're settling one for $375 million. So adding that extra 40 mil up on there. I don't know, man, if I'm one of the fighters, you know, it's like that story about that I read in Duff McKagan's kind of excellent memoir about his time in Guns N' Roses, where he said that they were super poor, living in a storage unit, treating their STDs with supplies they bought at the local pet store. And they had written and performed Welcome to the Jungle. And a record company executive wanted to buy the rights to just that song from them, and first came in and offered them like $5,000 or something. And they said no. And then he came back like a week later and offered them like 25 grand. And they were like, okay, well, definitely no now. Because what you just told us is that like you lowballed the fuck out of us the first time, so you might be lowballing the fuck out of us the second time. Do you think maybe they're thinking like that? They're like, hey, wait a minute, we were going to take the 335 million, and the judge says, no, man, you guys deserve more money. Then you come back with slightly more money, and we're going like, wait a minute though, we were just told to deserve more money, so how much more? You know what I'm saying?
Well, unless you're one of the Cajun Johnson fighters, in which case you're like, wait, what? What about us? Weren't we involved in this thing before? Now we got to wait. We got nothing. So we'll see. We'll see how that continues to play out. Number 9 this week, Ben. Michael Chandler seems to have decided that not getting the Conor McGregor fight is no big deal. Actually, and honestly, guys, he sort of knew all along it wasn't going to happen.
Oh, God.
Here he is over there on Twitter. Water under the bridge. I knew all along it was a long shot. I took the time to calibrate and plan this Chandler 2.0 season. That's his tweet. And then he tweets later, lost nothing, gained more than you know. See you in November.
Okay. You know what? Fine. At this point, I am in favor of Mikey Chandler lying to himself in whatever way he needs to move forward. Forward is the key here. If he needs to say that this was a carefully calibrated plan, fine. That's fine.
Is this acceptance? What stage of grief is this? You know what? It wasn't a big deal to begin with kind of stage of grief.
I mean, it's not quite acceptance because he still thinks it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, but it's no big deal if it doesn't, man. It's fine. He knew all along it probably wasn't going to happen.
Well, okay.
Number 8 this week, Ben. Kamaru Usman suggested that John Jones is the Michael Jordan of MMA, and Daniel Cormier took that personally.
See what you did.
You done with the interview? Cormier said, jokingly. Do you just want to be done? What? So John Jones is the Michael Jordan and LeBron James of MMA? You're going to sit up here, real life, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cameras. John Jones, to me, if I'm talking about a football or basketball equivalent, John Jones, when I'm looking for sports comparisons, is a guy who has done so much, but because of all the other stuff, it's hard to put him in that rarefied air. If Michael Jordan was doing illegal stuff, we don't know about it. Well, I can't judge him. George St. Pierre can't judge him. I know of the other stuff, so it's hard for me to say this guy's just sitting up there. Michael Jordan got done playing basketball in 1996, and people still don't want to say somebody's better. There will be a person that comes along that people will say replaces John Jones as the greatest of all time. He has not left such a legacy that it doesn't feel like it's never going to be toppled. Jordan left a legacy that we have seen LeBron James do what he do. We've seen Kobe do what he do. We have seen these great players, and they're still unwilling to say they're better. Now, I actually think he's got a point about the second part there, because we are steady describing people, different people, new people as the GOAT.
Yeah.
Every few months, seemingly.
One of our favorite things to do
in this sport. So I feel like we will replace John Jones as the greatest of all time in a way that makes everyone, including John Jones's head spin, and probably gets him to come back to the UFC within a couple of years, at least. What do you think about the first part here? Has John Jones's personal struggles been so effective, I guess, or detrimental that you don't think you could put him in the same category as, say, Michael Jordan in the NBA?
I think the thing is that with Michael Jordan, it felt like he kind of squeezed the most out of what he had. I mean, you could say like, oh, he could have kept going another season or two. You know, he did come back later, and that was we all just agreed to forget that. There was a time he went and played baseball, fine, whatever. But it's like he won so many championships, and as we learned with that Last Dance series, pushed everybody around him so hard that it didn't feel like Michael Jordan missed out on too much because he fucked around. Whereas that is exactly how it feels with John Jones.
Yeah.
And some of that he couldn't change now, even if he wanted to. Even if he did what he often threatens to do, and like, now shit is serious, and I'm not drinking anymore, and everything is fine. Like, I'm on the straight and narrow, and everybody watch out, it's over for you bitches. And we've seen that so many times. Even if he was really serious about that, now it's kind of too late. Because think about the fights that didn't happen, the fights we didn't see, the times where it just seemed like, okay, John Jones is continuing to get in the way of John Jones. And so that's going to be part of the legacy for sure. We're always going to feel like we maybe could have seen more of John Jones, better John Jones, like more accomplishments from him if he hadn't been his own worst enemy. And now, if he really is serious about, I'm gonna fight Stipe and I'm out and leave you all with blue balls in relation to Tom Aspinall in that fight, then yeah, that's going to hang over the legacy. Like that's going to be the big difference. Is you're not going to feel like John Jones did everything he could possibly do at all. You're going to feel like John Jones was incredibly gifted, did very, very well, was one of the greatest, if not the greatest MMA fighters of this era, certainly, but also kind of coasted on that sometimes and did not find the absolute limit of that.
Number 7 this week, Ben, at Iceman_3D on Twitter, thinks Bo Nicol is a big disappointment. Bo Nicol actually takes some time to politely explain that no, in fact, he is not. Iceman at Iceman_3D, who, by the way, has a picture of Kobe Bryant as his profile picture, says, bro, he has 105 followers. Just gonna throw that out there. Bro, you are a complete disappointment. You finish all your fights within 2 minutes, take 0 damage, yet you go home, sit down for months at a time while all your hype and momentum dies. Why? Makes no sense whatsoever. This is why nobody is out here looking for you. This is why when you're not fighting, nobody cares. You need to wake the fuck up because it's so damn annoying. To which Bo Nicol does a quote tweet and says, I'm training, brother. Not like these other guys who sit on the couch when they're not in camp. I've been fighting professionally since June of 2022. Anyone else near my position has over a decade of experience and 3 to 5 times as many fights. I'm on my own path and having fun. Just enjoy the show. So I'm not sure I quite follow the logic of at Iceman underscore 3D, but also just like, man, Twitter is a wild place. You know what I mean? Always has been, probably
Mhm.
always will be. Some guy with 105 followers who may well just be trolling and shit posting here gets to personally correspond with Bo Nickel, gets to reach out and touch him in
Mhm.
a way with his shitty, like nonsensical opinion. And then Bo Nickel sits there on his phone or maybe his desktop, I don't know, types out a rational reply and hits send on it. Like, what the what? How is this the world we live in where this happens?
First of all, it's worth noting that this reply from Iceman 3D, it's just in response to Bo Nickel posting, like he reposts an MMA uncensored thing that says who will be middleweight champion in 2025, and he reposts it with the like thinking emoji guy.
Yeah.
As if like, hey, maybe I will be, it's next year, all that kind of stuff. And then that leads to this tirade from Iceman 3D. Also, Bo Nickel's Twitter bio reads, Jesus plus nothing equals everything. Which I understand what you're going for, but that's confusing.
It's possible math is not his strong suit.
He's saying if you have Jesus, you don't need anything else. You got
Yeah.
everything.
No, I got
But
it. I get what he's saying.
it's a little winding path we took to get there.
I mean, at least it doesn't say Jesus times 0 equals everything.
Okay, that's true.
That would be worse.
That would be worse.
Who out here on the internet is like, I'm gonna tell this Bo Nickel something. I got a thing or two to tell this guy. Sit down.
Lots of people
I
are like
guess.
that on the
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah, it's wild. I can't imagine it. Number 6 this week, Ben. Irene Aldana already has her stitches out from one of the worst cuts in MMA history. And I tell you, the wonders of modern medicine. This is from her own Instagram. She has posted a video of herself. She's got her hair hanging down, so it's going to be in front of the scar. But then she kind of pulls the hair back, and you could see it. Yeah, she has a scar. She's
Yeah.
got a good scar going on here. But at the same time, if you're looking at the Damon Martin story on MMA fighting, and you can scroll up and see the cut itself, holy shit, they're doing a good job putting these people back together. Frankly,
Yeah, I mean that is going to leave a scar. And my youngest daughter has a scar on her forehead from running into a wall and splitting it open, and you can tell she's probably going to have that the rest of her life. But I tell this story before about once like a friend of a friend. Once I heard this story where I think she fell out of a bunk bed in college or something, got a big cut on her head, went to the doctor, got it stitched up and everything, and then she was just like, okay, what can I do about the scarring? And she was thinking to be referred to like a plastic surgeon or something. And the doctor who stitched her up, the advice he gave instead was consider other hairstyles,
Jesus Christ.
basically to cover it up. And she was just like, that's not what I was hoping for, man. I was hoping for something a little more like a little more aggressive of a treatment, scarring wise.
Well, I think that, sometimes with this fight stuff, they do have a plastic surgeon come in, right? And do like the stitching. They do like a
Yeah.
different kind of a thing to try to mitigate the scarring. Reminds me of what Alistair Overeem. Remember when he got his whole shit broke, right?
Oh
His
yeah.
whole lip
His
all
lip,
cracked open. And then he
like
showed up
Biggie
like 2
boy.
weeks later and he looked just fine. Looked like nothing had happened. Uh, Aldana is going to look like something happened here. But still, man, you see that cut and you see the handiwork here. I feel like, the wonders that we're doing with cuts these days, Ben. I tell you
Yeah.
what. Number 5 this week, Ben, if you happen to be on the voting panel for the UFC rankings, it sounds like you might want to keep that to yourself if Brendan Allen is around. We talked about this earlier. And again, he does have a point, man. Middleweight rankings, he is number 8. And like I said before, he has an impressive, 13 of 15 fights in the UFC. Right now, he's riding an 8-fight win streak. And so, I don't know, man. Seems like maybe if the UFC ranking system was sensical in any way, Brendan Allen might have a legitimate gripe.
Yeah, I mean, the I appreciate this part of his remarks where he says, "Yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm the only guy in the win streak that I'm on that falls places in the rankings. When guys above me are on losses or consecutive losses, I don't even know. But I know there are losses, so it's just whatever. Like, it's kind of comical at this point. I don't feel like he's actually laughing. It's kind of comical, but it's not ha-ha comical, is it? Quizzical, even.
Would you say he's bemused?
No, I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't say he's bemused. But I do like him saying that if anybody told him they were on the rankings panel, he would never even have a conversation with them ever. I'd literally tell them to go fuck themselves.
I
Literally.
mean, the good news is he will never have to have a conversation with anybody on the rankings panel.
Yeah, I don't think that that's a worry.
Number 4 this week, Ben, Ilya Topuria said he wouldn't fight Conor McGregor. I don't believe you. I wouldn't like to fight Conor McGregor, Topuria told Ilbai Lanos. Probably nailed that. I'm looking at the MMA Mania transcription by Alexander Boni. Nailed it. I mean, Conor McGregor would be an option if I could fight him, but right now I'm telling you that if they offered me a fight with him, I'd say no because there are bigger fights than him. I know he is not what he was. He's not the McGregor that moved the masses. He's a McGregor who represents alcohol and drugs more than sport. I have been inspired by Conor. I admired him when I was little, and he lost it because he has betrayed the values that brought him to the top. We have lost an idol.
Wow. Damning
Say it ain't so, Conor, is basically what Ilya Topuria is saying here. The child that was Ilya Topuria, who once looked up to Conor McGregor, now feels betrayed that he represents drugs and alcohol more than sport.
See, I thought he was gonna say the reason that I would not accept a fight with Conor McGregor is because I don't believe he'd fucking show up.
Well, if he's smart, he should just say it's no big deal either way. I knew it was a long shot to begin with.
Like, if you told me that that was your reasoning, I'd be like, fair. Ilya Topuria is paying attention. But to just be like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, I don't know.
I don't believe him. I think he would fight Conor McGregor. I just think he would.
You think he'd accept a whole bunch of fucking money to probably beat the shit out of Conor McGregor? I do.
I do, yeah. Number 3 this week, Ben. Mohamed Mokaev is the highest paid flyweight in the world right now, Mohamed Mokaev says. He's doing fine. Great, actually. And if somebody could give the UFC his new phone number, that would be great. So he's over there in the Brave. What is he? Brave FC? Is that where he's at? Is that what the thing is called?
Home.
Yeah, back home. He says, this is a tweet from him, highest paid flyweight fighter in the world right now without holding the title. So that seems like a caveat. But of course, my goal is to come back to the UFC because it is the number one promotion in the world right now. So he's doing great, getting paid more than ever, loving life. Don't you guys worry. He's got a girlfriend. You don't know her. You met her at camp. She goes to another school. But if the UFC comes calling, he's going to go back there. He'll go back. Don't get him wrong. He's fine. He's great. He's make more money than ever. But
yeah, it's hard for me to say. What is he saying? I am the highest paid flyweight in the world that does not hold a title.
That's
or is
my
he
guess.
saying, I am the highest paid flyweight in the world, even without holding a title?
I mean, my guess is the former, but maybe the latter. Hard to know.
Also, imagine your Brave FC, whatever. He tags him in this. Highest paid flyweight fighter in the world right now without holding the title at Brave MMA AF. And then the next sentence is, but of course my goal is to come back to the UFC because this is the number one promotion in the world right now. And you're like, if you're Brave FC, you'd be like, bro, we took you in.
Yeah. We gave you that money you're talking about right now.
They threw you out. We took you in. And you're telling everybody how pleased you are with how we're paying you. And then in the very next breath, talking about how you want to leave and go back to the people who just threw you out. Well, how about a little extra appreciation? God damn it.
He's happier now. He didn't want that old job. He's happier with the new job that he's got. But also, you think they're hiring over there? Think they're looking for somebody?
Be real awesome if just tell them, hey, if they're interested in talking, I would hear them out and also accept any offer they would make me.
Number 2 this week, Ben. Kevin Lee doesn't understand why the UFC passed on putting him on the Contender Series. Is it time for someone to have the dude, maybe she just doesn't like you that much talk with him? He's trying to get on the Contender Series. He says, this is a quote here. I don't think the issue is me not willing to show up and put on great fights because that's all I've ever done. Well, I think it made sense to be on the Contender Series. I don't know exactly what the problem is. I honestly don't know. It's not the numbers, right? I've heard Dana kind of brag about Bilal Muhammad when he wrapped the belt around him and he bragged that he got more views than any other champion, and it was like 20 million views or something. But my brother, Keith Lee, did a small video for me getting ready for my last fight in the Apex. And keep in mind, this is a prelim Apex fight card. And my brother did a post and he got 12 million views compared to a champion that did 20 million views. And Dana's bragging about it. I don't think that's the issue. I offered to do that fight. I think it would have been big. I think it would have been great for Dana White Contender Series, but the offer is off the table at this point. I offered it. They said no. We'll move on. No sweat off my brow. I mean, that's not really why they have the Contender Series.
Yeah.
Right? They don't really have it to get dudes like Keith Lee, Kevin Lee back in the UFC, where I'm sure he would try to move out of that Contender Series contract and into a Kevin Lee type contract as quickly as he could. Like, what they're trying to do is produce new, cheap, unknown labor that might turn into somebody, that might turn into Sean O'Malley. That's what they're trying to do with the Contender Series. And it's not Kevin Lee. They're not trying to get Kevin Lee on the Contender Series.
The thing is, too, that like if you have watched the Contender Series at all, you almost can't make it through an episode without Dana White inviting on a fighter who is like over 30, and then B, talking about how he doesn't like to sign fighters over 30. So it's like he makes it kind of clear that they're looking for young penny stocks. And so if you watch the show, it's kind of like, how you'd go, this is a niche analogy, but you will appreciate it, Chad. You go and you submit something to like a literary magazine,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just sending it out to a bunch of different places. You're gonna send it out to like the dozen, 2 dozen places, whatever. And they all their websites will be like, you should read some of our back issues to get a sense of what we are into. Nobody's fucking doing that. Nobody's being like, well, before I submit to the Florida Review, I should go back and read their last 4 quarterly issues. No, they're just sending it off and open for the best. So Kevin Lee might actually want to take the advice. Watch the Contender Series. See what they openly tell you they are looking for and going for with that thing, and realize maybe you are not making them the offer that they cannot refuse that you think you are.
They're not trying to find Kevin Lee's on there. Number 1 this week, Ben. Dana White already seems super bored with the UFC. So what if he really does get into boxing in 2025? Here he is still talking about this, still talking about it. He says, I think now is obviously the time, or I would have done it back then. Okay. I was kicking around. I was even talking about Anthony Joshua at one time and stuff like that. I'm glad that I pumped the brakes and we waited. Everything is about timing. Is now the time? We're going to find out. There's a million reasons why now is the time. If you notice, as far as boxing goes, even as much money as Sheik Turkey, probably nailed it, is throwing into this thing, television deals aren't really abundant right now. There's just a lot of things that I think I can do that other people haven't done yet. I have a plan. I'm going to implement that plan and we'll see how it works. We'll see how this thing works. People have been talking about the demise of boxing for 30 years, and we're still talking about boxing right now. I'm coming in guns blazing.
We talked about this a little bit on the live chat that me and Pizzi did this week, but the comment especially, Grabaka Hitman posted this and made this note that where he says, people have been talking about the demise of boxing for 30 years. You are people. Dana White has been talking about that. And still manages to sneak it in here where he's just like, oh, he's fucking boxing people, all a bunch of scumbags. They're killing the sport. The sport has no future because of them. He's the one been saying that. We remember it. And so now he can't believe people would ever say that. Here's this. Let me throw this out to you though, Chad. You're right to say like Dana White does seem bored of just being the president of the extremely profitable and sort of like autopilot UFC at this point. Maybe this boxing thing is just what he needs to stop talking about fucking power slap all the time. Could that be?
I mean, we can all hope, but it seems to me like it would just be another thing Dana White adds to his portfolio, right? He would have Power Slap, he would have the UFC, he would have the Contender Series, and now he would have this new boxing thing, which, you know, goddamn good and well they would package up with all of this other UFC content. You're going to be watching Dana White power boxing fucking vignettes on fight nights and everything like that. They'd probably throw it into the broadcast deal. I don't know, man. It seems like if he has another thing that we know is the thing that he has wanted to do for a long time, if he has another thing going, is he just going to completely check out of the UFC? Is it going to be Hunter Campbell sitting over there, cage side, handling all the business for the UFC even more than he already does, while Dana White is out here trying to broker TV deals for his, what I'm sure will be the boxing version of the Dana White Contender Series?
Hey, if we can just get him to start talking about all the big things he's doing in boxing, the amazing numbers they're doing on socials, all that stuff, and get that just to take over from all the talking about power slap, I'll take it. So at least then we'll be talking about a real sport.
Here's the thing about this. Like, I kind of honestly believe that Dana White will be able to find a broadcast deal for his boxing promotion, whatever that is. I bet he will be able to find a good broadcast deal for that. Probably a broadcast deal that is better than many of the other current boxing promoters have for their boxing. That seems right to me. It seems like Dana White will, in fact, be able to do that. And I'm sure that it will make Dana White money doing that. What the financial arrangements that he works out with the actual fighters will have to be different, I would assume, owing to the regulation of boxing at the federal level. But here he is in this quote talking about how he had talked about doing something with Anthony Joshua and basically being like, thank God I didn't do that. Right? Like, that's basically what he is saying in this quote. So he's kind of giving away this company store here. He's kind of telling us like, I'm glad I didn't do any of that big money stuff with those famous guys. So he'll probably have a couple of boxers, maybe some people have heard of. And other than that, it's going to be hungry kids from Philly coming up, trying to impress the boss with their never say die attitudes and their blood and guts fighting styles. I guarantee you that's what it is. You know why? Because that's one of the only fucking ideas this guy has ever had. It's the same idea over and over again. The Ultimate Fighter, the Contender Series, this boxing thing, looking for a fight. It's exhausting to see this happen over and over again. But I'm sure it'll work out for him. I'm sure he'll make some money off of it. So we'll see.
We'll see. Can't wait for Tater versus Pancake in the boxing ring.
Dana White's big time boxing action. I don't know. It'll be called something like that. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, that's going to do it this week for the Co-Main Event Podcast Patreon Power Hour Power Rankings, and by extension, the Power Hour itself. Watch the fights tomorrow. Grizz kickoff at 5 p.m. All of that, I believe, is on ESPN Plus, and we'll be back on Tuesday with the proper to kick off another week of content over here on the Patreon page. Thanks for the support, everybody. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you then. As for right now, we're done.